In the news tonight, we have new cases for the fifth straight day. Suva school principal suspended. And Fiji faces harsh reality on the likelihood of new cases.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nunn.
Bulabinaka, Fiji. 2 children have tested positive for COVID-19, bringing locally transmitted cases to 5. We will have more on this shortly. But now we cross live to Josiah Nanunga. Josiah, given these new cases, what's the ministry's stand on a lockdown across Fiti level?
Edwin, medical authorities are confident they're in control in terms of tracking and containing cases. Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Health, Dr. James Fong, says they're able to track cases from Matabokumbu in Lautoka, where the funeral took place, and the movement of individuals, as well as those who may have come into contact with. Now, Edwin, very important, a consideration will only be given for a nationwide lockdown if the ministry reaches a critical stage where they identify a person and are unable to confirm how did that person become infected.
Josiah, with more cases expected to emerge, does the ministry have enough isolation facilities?
Edwin, the Navua and Lautoka hospitals are currently being used as an isolation facilities. However, the health ministry have other contingency plans for other centers for isolation and quarantine. Now, all international passenger travel has been suspended until further notice. This is to free up space in our border quarantine facilities.
Now, 26,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccines have arrived. Will there be a public vaccination drive given the current situation?
Yes, Edwin, it will begin tomorrow. The health ministry will start calling up people to come and receive their jabs. There will be no vaccination drive as compared to the previous one. We have also received information that members of parliament and journalists will be prioritized for this vaccination phase. And also, Edwin, we have received confirmation from the ministry that the parliament session that was scheduled for next week has been deferred until further notice.
And finally, Josiah, there are more high-risk businesses to close down from tomorrow. Who's affected?
Edwin, these are businesses where social distancing may be a problem. These are gyms, movie theaters, taverns, pubs, bars, cyber cafes, hair salons, barber shops, spas, beauty therapy, massage parlors, saunas, and tattoo parlors. And they must be closed for the next 14 days. Edwin.
Naka Josiah, as you've heard, a 14-year-old girl and a 7-month-old child from Wainitarawau settlement in Cunningham are the country's latest COVID-19 cases. Health Ministry Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong says the cases were confirmed following tests conducted overnight. Details with Josiah Nanunga.
The 2 recent cases are the children of the 40-year-old woman who tested positive yesterday. The ministry confirms the 2, their mother, father and 3 other children have been safely transferred to the Navua Hospital isolation ward.
We believe there is little chance that she passed the virus to others. However, out of an abundance of caution, we will be running a screening exercise based on the daughter's movements.
Dr. Fong has acknowledged this family for being honest and coming forward with information.
I want to remind everyone that we identified this family because they made the patriotic decision to come forward and because they were honest with us about where they had been. Now, they will be getting the treatment they need and they will no longer pose a risk to others.
Both children initially tested negative on Tuesday, and the cases are regarded as latent, which shows that they've been put on isolation before they became infectious. Dr. Fong also confirmed the 2 were from the same cluster. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
The principal of a Suva school has been suspended this afternoon for releasing the name of a Year 9 student who tested positive for COVID-19. The head of school had emailed all teachers informing them that the student had COVID-19 and everyone needed to come in for testing. Koroi Tandulala reports the individual has been suspended from duties until further notice.
The Education Minister in a statement says it is rather unfortunate that the details of the student had been released and is now circulating on social media. Rosie Ogbar says school heads and teachers are cautioned to exercise confidentiality when dealing with issues related to child safety and protection. The Health Ministry also weighed in on the privacy issue, such as that of the 14-year-old student who tested positive for COVID-19.
Very disappointed that it's been circulated like this. I really find it disappointing. I really wish that people had more sense, that we would be a little bit more caring, that we would at least demonstrate love for everybody and not be this stupid.
The authorities are reiterating the need to eradicate the culture of stigmatization as it can put the entire nation at risk. Koroy Tandulala, FBC News.
And Koroy Tandulala joins us live now. Koroy, victimization and stigma related to COVID-19 seems to be a big concern for the ministry.
Edwin, Dr. James Fong, the Permanent Secretary, was quite emotional today about how a 14-year-old girl has been victimized and bullied when her name was released publicly via social media. He's made an emotional plea for Fijians not to spread hatred and misinformation because it has very real consequences on patients. He has also assured everyone that the ministry will provide accurate and timely details every day, and there is no need to be reckless and peddle half-baked information which will only create fear and also victimize patients who have a right to their privacy. The Permanent Secretary is calling on all Fijians to come together and support each other and the ministry's work as otherwise they could be derailing efforts to contain COVID-19. He has also expressed his anger against Fiji Times newspaper and the Fiji television for going into Wadi Tarwau settlement to take footage, interviews and pictures. He says such reckless actions by journalists risk exposure to COVID-19, which of course if they come out testing positive is just an added pressure and burden on the ministry's effort to contain COVID-19. Edwin.
Naka Koroy, the Health Ministry is warning there could be more positive cases of COVID-19, and should it happen, it will be related to the super spreader funeral in Tavakumbu, Lautoka. Health officials are classifying the funeral as the same cluster which was exposed to the hotel worker from Nandi. The woman attended the funeral in Tavakumbu on Friday and Saturday last week. Pranita Prakash reports.
Approximately 500 people attended the funeral, and Dr. Fong says the risk remains high.
I expect that a lot more of those people that were in the funeral will turn out positive. That's an expectation that we all have.
Head of Health Protection, Dr. Alisha Sahu Khan, outlines why there is a fear of more cases being detected.
We know that we've tested the first 69 contacts of the first cases, then plus 300 plus secondary contacts, and they were negative the first time around. But we know the virus can take up to 14 days before it shows up on a test or it even causes symptoms.
Health officials say the risk can be minimized if people take precautionary measures at all times. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
And Felipe Naikaso joins us live now from the West. Felipe, Saweni Beach was visited by the COVID-19 patient from Cunningham. What's happening there?
Yes, Edwin, as mentioned by the PS for Health, Dr. James Fong, and also the call has been made by the health authorities to all those that may have been at Saweni Beach in Lautoka last Saturday, the 17th of April, around the hours of 10 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. to please stay at home, dial the numbers 158 or try and contact the health officials as you may be at risk of contracting the virus. Edwin, this is also because after the investigation by the Ministry of Health, they found out that the 40-year-old woman from Cunningham was also at Saweni Beach last weekend. And Edwin, health officials are also moving around Lautoka City. Today, they have been doing house-to-house testing, doing swab tests, as their aim is to do tests on Fijians 300 per day.
Felipe, Nasomo in Tavua has also been identified as a possible risk area. What do we know about this?
Yes, Edwin, I spoke to the Turang Koro of Nasomo in Tavua just a while ago, and what he told me is that the health officials were at the village since Monday after they discovered that the 40-year-old woman from Cunningham and her family had spent the night at the village. He told me that they had spent the night because they couldn't go back to Suva due to the curfew, so they had contacted one of their relatives and they had spent the night and left the next morning. So far, what we know is that the area has been cordoned off. It's in containment area, and health officials are working around the clock to conduct tests. And what Dr. James Fong has also said, the rules of engagement for the area is simple. No one is allowed out of the area.
Naka Felipe, up ahead. Employers Federation hopeful and demand increases for face masks. Welcome back. 26,000 doses of the second batch of the AstraZeneca vaccine have arrived and vaccinations will begin tomorrow. There is a set timetable for vaccine registration, starting from Fijians with health issues and workers in high-risk environments. The Health Ministry is advising Fijians to be patient.
We will be calling Fijians living with underlying health conditions that increase their risk of severe disease if they get COVID-19, as well as those working in high-risk professions, including retailers, hotel staff, drivers of taxis, minibuses, and buses. Members of the media in Suva and in the West, as well as parliamentarians and parliamentary staff, will also be called to come forward and be vaccinated.
The Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation is hoping the latest COVID-19 cases in Suva will not severely affect businesses. Chief Executive Kameli Batiweti says they've visited many businesses over the last 3 days and seen that operations are normal despite various restrictions enforced by the government. Josiah Nanunga reports.
This is becoming a usual scene. People wearing masks, maintaining 2 meters distance while in shops, and using hand sanitizers in a bid to contain COVID-19.
12 months ago, it was a different story. And 12 months later, because everyone has been down this road, therefore everyone has learned, adjusted their BCP, and therefore acting accordingly.
The rule is simple. Fijians need to have a Care Fiji app and keep their Bluetooth on at all times. Those without the app need to register their details before entering any shops.
Most of the shops are open and they're adhering to the rules and regulations that has been put forward.
The top brass of the Suva Retailers Association is closely monitoring operations for retailers, wholesalers and supermarkets here in Suva to ensure they strictly adhere to the COVID-19 safety measures.
Social distancing 2 meters, and yes, without the mask, most of the shops are not allowing anyone inside.
Patel says essential service providers are limiting the number of customers to at least 50%. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
Supermarkets in the capital city are following strict guidelines to control the crowds of shoppers entering their premises. Shoppers are required to log in their details and sanitize before carrying out their shopping, with face masks encouraged. Christiana Uluwai reports.
The Ministry of Health is very clear with their message for businesses during this recent COVID outbreak. Adhere to the COVID rules or shut down.
We have to mark all the floor to 1 meter distance for the social distance for the save all the customers.
These advisories are not falling on deaf ears, as supermarkets across the capital city are putting in stringent measures to control the crowd of shoppers entering their stores.
They have to take all the temperature and the phone number and the PG care app, what you call, they have to put everything.
Most shoppers complied with the rules put in place by the supermarkets.
Well, I think sometimes people get frustrated, but to see on the brighter side, kind of helps us trying to keep the virus from spreading more.
These regulatory measures will be in place for at least the next 2 weeks, and this is to help the Health Ministry contain this virus. Christiana Uluwai, FBC News.
Fijians were seen wearing face masks while out in public today, and this is being reflected in the increasing demand noted by businesses. While many Fijians understand the importance of covering their face in such troublesome times, some continue to be complacent. Koroi Tandulala reports.
Businesses are once again noticing an increase in demand for face masks and hand sanitizers.
People are coming and asking for the hand and gloves.
Well, it's growing, but I don't think it's really where it should be because we still have people who are walking around in public without a mask on.
While many Fijians understand the importance of masks, they are still not wearing them.
As a market vendor, we should be, properly hygienic, like wearing masks, wearing gloves, use sanitizers.
Even though these masks are very uncomfortable and keeps going down whenever I talk, but I think something is better than nothing,
And it's highly important that we wear masks because this is very scary. We have dealt with the COVID once and we'll deal with it again.
Pharmacist Rosa Vatuniarawa says they're also informing their customers on the need to protect themselves.
If you have to go out in public, then it's just vital that you do it. And you treat everybody as if they're an asymptomatic carrier. It's the only way that we're going to stop the spread of the virus.
The Ministry of Health is encouraging Fijians not to be complacent and take all necessary precautions when out in public. Koroi Tandulala, FBC News.
To other news now, Canadian national Joshua Aziz Rahman will be sentenced next Friday. The 26-year-old was found guilty of unlawful possession of illicit drugs. He had in his possession 39 bars of cocaine, weighing 39.5 kilograms. The drugs, which later tested positive for cocaine, were found in February 2019 when police raided Rahman's home in Thombati, Nasino. His sentence hearing was held today. Still to come, FDA reports reveal issues at J&J vaccine plant. And later in sports, Silk Tails push on.
Two major resorts in Nandi have stated that while the current situation may be a setback for the industry, the health and well-being of people remains paramount. While resorts have been enjoying the Love Our Locals campaign, the recent cases will affect their business. Felipe Nakaso has more.
This may be the scenario for resorts and hotels over the next few weeks as COVID protocols have been reactivated.
There's practically no business, which I can understand. For the time being, it's better to concentrate on our health and safety measures and so on.
A few months back, this place was buzzing with people as they were enjoying the Love Your Locals campaign. However, with the recent outbreak of COVID cases in the country, this area has gone back to being a ghost town.
All these properties within these corridors that have been operating will lose their business over this time.
The Radisson Resort is currently accommodating a few guests who cannot leave due to the lockdown.
We try to accommodate them with very special rates so that at least they can afford it.
While these operators anticipate a further drop in business, they remain hopeful.
I do not think that we have to start from scratch again, as the groundwork has already been laid.
The general feeling is that majority of the tourism operators are confident that guests will return as soon as the situation is contained. Felipe Naikaso, FBC News.
ANZ will waive all merchant fees for transactions under $10 that will be conducted using Visa debit card from any bank. Country head Saud Minam says ANZ wants to promote a cashless economy and provide more affordable access to digital services. ANZ will charge retailers a flat 40-cent fee for transactions over 10% made via locally issued Visa debit card on all ANZ FPOS terminals. Minam adds COVID-19 has been a tipping point for many retailers when it comes to contactless payments. Here the local exchange rates are set early this morning. Our Fiji dollar switched directions overnight, gaining against the major international currencies such as the Chinese yuan, US dollar and euro. but slipped against the Aussie and Kiwi dollars, pretty much a reversal of what we saw yesterday. Prices were mixed on the commodities market. Oil prices dropped $1 to just above $61 a barrel. Gold rose strongly to $1,794 per ounce, and silver closed down at $25.58 per ounce. As the US dollar drops the dollars for our two trade partners, here's Sinifa to tell you more.
The Aussie and Kiwi dollars traded near one-month highs against the greenback today. Supported by speculation, their central banks are more likely to follow Canada's strategy for an improving economic outlook. The New Zealand dollar is struggling to extend today's high level despite broad US dollar weakness and falling treasury yields. Meanwhile, the greenback is sitting around multi-week lows and unable to pick itself up versus most major currencies. Sentiment for the dollar has weakened as last month's spike in treasury yields reverses. But some analysts say the longer-term outlook remains positive due to a strong US economy and the coronavirus vaccination program. Elsewhere, the euro is in focus ahead of a European Central Bank meeting later tonight, where any positive comments about the economic outlook or hints of decreasing bond purchases are expected to send the common currency higher. That's all from HFC Bank for now. Back to you, Whitney.
The Ministry of Agriculture has made arrangements with market vendors in the containment areas to ensure a consistent supply of fresh produce. Permanent Secretary for Agriculture Ritesh Das says their senior management has met with vendors in Nandi and Lautoka. He adds arrangements with law enforcement authorities have been made to allow the exchange of goods at border points. Lautoka Market Vendors Association President Philomena O'Neill agreed that they would continue to sell at pre-lockdown prices. And that is the latest from my end, but coming up after the break, climate change affects food source. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Living in Tamavuaiwai outside Suva City for more than 20 years, Taito Davea says he never thought that something called climate change would affect their lives. Davea says their village has become vulnerable to high tides and natural disasters. Sainia Nimboila reports.
This village is located near the Tamavuaiwai River, and it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Living here, the advantage is that the river and the sea is our main food source. It also generates income. However, with the current climate change crisis, it's a growing concern.
Salaimati says her family uses tires and other nature-based solutions to keep them safe from the climate crisis.
We have to plant trees to avoid coastal erosion. During high tide, the water level comes closer to our homes, so we work to ensure that everyone is safe during this time.
Climate change continues to be a daily challenge for villagers living here at Tamavuaiwai. They continue to plant mangroves in an effort to protect their ancestral land. Sainia Nimboila, FBC News.
A family that's been making and selling handicraft for generations has now ventured into other products to continue earning an income. 48-year-old Kamlesh Chand says with no tourists coming to our shores, their handicraft sales declined significantly. Chand, who is a woodcarver by profession, has established his own kitchen line of products to remain afloat. Kelly Vadala reports.
Kamlesh Chand is now making wooden utensils, and instead of taking it to his store, he sells them at open market spaces.
Doing from home, I got all machineries and got some workers there. At least they're having some income. So 4 or 5 people working.
Chand says he hopes business will pick up soon.
Maybe $100 or sometimes less, depends on the business and the weather.
Crafting is in the blood for the Chan family. It's a skill that's been passed down through generations.
My grandfather used to do, my father used to do, I'm doing, even my kid doing. So it's in the blood.
Kamlesh says the pandemic has brought out the best in him and his family. They're using their generational skills to take them through the current crisis. Kelly Vathala, FBC News.
The Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation will closely monitor the operational status of its members across Fiji amidst the current COVID-19 situation. FBC News spoke to FCEF Chief Executive Kameli Mbatiweti.
Mr. Mbatiweti plans in place for the Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation to conduct a survey in a bid to ascertain the current operation status of registered businesses, particularly MSMEs in various parts of Fiji.
That is what we would imagine, because last year it was new, there was a lot of unknowns. This year there is a lot of lessons learned from last year, so this year will be a lot more different from what was experienced last year.
Will the Federation beef up its various programs to assist these small businesses in various parts of Fiji, as well as the workers?
It's still early days. We will find out later on as members start to feel the pinch, as they start to find some of the restrictions becoming a bit tough on their business. And then we just have to find out what are solutions that we can assist them to find.
Has the Federation seen or witnessed an increasing number of businesses coming in to register?
This year, there's a lot more than those who joined last year, mainly in the MSME space, because again, there's comfort in numbers, there is protection, there is funding by the example, the Fiji Enterprise Engine by MDF.
And time now to join Jamie for the latest in sports.
Naked and good evening. Ahead in sports, boost for Thakonrove Rugby. And Silktails after third win. There's some more coming up. The Thakonrove provincial side is extending its pool of players to include those from Taveuni, who have usually missed out on playing for the team in previous years. The Thakonrove Rugby Union wants a team that's representative of the whole of Thakonrove as it continues its development programs in the province. Eleanor Turangeviu has more.
For years, the Thakonrove provincial side has always fielded players from mainland Vanuatu, leaving out players from Taveuni.
For a long time, Taveuni players never played in the provincial side. They only play sevens.
The squad is currently camping at Lamini village in Taveuni with the hopes of roping in some players from the island before the main team is chosen for the Vodafone Fiji Rugby Union Vanua Championship.
We used to camp in Savusavu, but now we are here to develop 15s rugby in Taveuni. It's been non-existent for a while. We want to rejuvenate the 15s code.
Former Fiji Sevens rep William Maya, who has been working on developing 15s rugby on the island, will be assisting the Thakonrove provincial side.
There's a lot of interest here on the island for 15s rugby. Now that they've known we're developing the code here, because unlike sevens, 15s doesn't really need a specific skills or build. It takes everyone.
The Thakonrove will kick off their Vanua Championship campaign against the Nuku'alofa at Ratunganilau Park in Savusavu on May 15. Eleanor Turangeviu, FBC Sports.
The departure of Eastern Saints founder and coach Sermai Mbai has left the void in the team, but players are soldiering on. Mbai, who's taken up the role as head coach for Tailevu Rugby, had to give up the reins of the young Eastern Saints team, who are battling in the Ascot Shield. Captain Sekiu Sandela Eloa says the players are adapting well to the leadership of the new coaches, and it's been business as usual.
It's just all in the mindset for the boys. This is it's not new. We've been training from October or November last year. The game plan is nothing has changed from last year. The boys still know what to do. They know their jobs.
The KVT Silktails Rugby League team believes they're edging closer to their best form after securing back-to-back wins in the Iran Massey Cup. As the side begins to find its feet, the man in charge cannot help but reminisce on his journey so far. Aquila Dama with more.
This year is my first.
Wes Ngama is slowly adapting to his role as the Silktails coach. However, he has not forgotten those special moments that got him this far.
Making your first grade debut, which is special. Sort of had all my family and friends there for that when I played in back in 2005, but also probably representing the country and sort of being named captain in 2008. So this is my first full season to take over.
The Silktails may have a young squad, but the back-to-back wins have really fired them up.
It's a whole different team from what we had last year. This year we have most of the young boys in our team.
The Silktails will face Mounties at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Mounties is third on the Ron Massey Cup table with 10 points, and the Silktails are fourth with 8 points. Aquila Dama, FBC Sports.
Fiji Swimming has no choice but to push back its competition dates. Following the COVID-19 restrictions announced by the government, the Federation has resorted to Plan B. Venina Rakautonga with the details.
The qualifiers won't be cancelled as it is a key event for the Olympic Games.
So we've chosen the 21st, 22nd and 23rd of May. Hopefully there'll be no lockdown then and we can host the Olympic qualifying event.
Trisa Chia says the Fiji Secondary Schools competition planned for this month will also be moved.
We've moved our competitions, the schools have moved their competitions to June. And like I said earlier, our Open Olympic qualifiers will be at the end of May and our age group nationals will now be pushed to July, the beginning of July.
Olympic hopefuls like Cheyenne Rover will be doing their individual training.
Competition is really hard. Everyone's trying to go for a different event and everyone's working really hard.
It is not known when the green light for sporting events will be given. Keeping this in mind, all other federations are making adjustments to their sporting calendar. Venina Rakautonga, FBC Sports.
Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola said the failed European Super League is a closed chapter after his side beat Aston Villa 2-1 this morning to move closer to becoming English Premier League champions. In today's Play of the Day, retired rugby league great Paul Gallen floored Australia's only ever world heavyweight boxing champion Lucas Brown in their fight last night. Furious about Brown dismissing him as a footballer, the former NRL star sent Big Daddy Brown to the canvas twice inside the first 2 minutes of the first round. In today's quirky sport of the day, Sepak Takraw, a game that originates in Southeast Asia and is literally playing volleyball with everything except your hands. That's it from sports tonight. Angie joins you up after the break. And in a weird and wonderful, Spanish school takes classroom to the beach. Find out more after the break.
A very big bula to you and welcome to the weather world. It looks like Mother Nature sorted things out. Nice high pressure system sitting on the country. It's spread out beautifully. The weekend is very close, only a day away. With these amazing spells, we could do so much. Now to the west, it was shower free and overall the day was calm. There is a shower system moving in, but it's very unlikely for the westerners. Eastwards from Pakhabarasuva, clear and very humid, had lows of 26 and 27 degrees. The night will be a bit cooler than usual. And moving further to the north, the center of the engine room for showers is rotating and moving closer to the western division from this end. The places we will be checking out today is Nosori, Ba and Nambawalu. Nosori was the warmest center today with a humidity check of 72% and it felt like 37 degrees. The other two were warm and can you imagine, it felt like 37 degrees. Bilihia felt a bit gooey too. At sea, southeast winds 15 to 20 knots, moderate to rough seas. Turning to the tides, high waters at 2:16 a.m. with low waters at 8:13 a.m. Sunrise at 6:17. For tomorrow, the sunshine will walk out on us as it will make room for showers. I know it's a Friday and we want to see some great ending to it, but Mother Nature has other plans. And looking further on to Saturday, as the day carries on, the weather system will eventually clear. Now let's see the shot of the day. It is of a small hill in the Namosi Highlands sent in by Roau. Remember to send us pictures, send it with a small description to our FBC News Facebook page. That's all from the Weather World. It's back to Edwin.
Thanks, Angie. In Fijian Pulse, we ask, with stricter health protocols re-implemented, will you miss your daily routine?
It's a no, So I didn't really miss the life. My answer is no, because it's more safe now.
I miss the life because of the current situation we're facing right now.
I miss the life before.
And do you get tired of looking at the four walls of classrooms? Some students of a Spanish school have taken the classroom to the beach. And recapping our main stories, we have new cases for the 5th straight day. Suva school principal suspended, and Fiji faces harsh reality on the likelihood of new cases. For these stories, you can tune in to our sister radio station Gold FM to our poll question. This week we are asking, have you downloaded the Care Fiji app? Visit our FBC News website to answer. You can also send us newsworthy pictures and videos. Email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our various social media accounts, including Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. You can also download our FBC app to keep updated with the latest news and sports and listen to our 6 radio stations live. That's your news this evening. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Modemanda.